Warning, this podcast contains mature themes and coarse language. The hosts frequently employ humor to offset the serious and occasionally upsetting material. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the dark side. I'm Brianna.
I'm Dyson.
And this is episode 82 of Dark Adaptation.
Yeah.
Hey Dyson, what's going on?
Not much.
You're just happy to be here?
I'm just happy to be here.
Happy to be here? You're ready to hear another bone-chilling broadcast?
Oh, I got my bones going.
Are they chilling?
They're just chilling here.
I didn't write any sort of punchy intro or like anything fancy or crazy. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling inspired to do that.
Oh, well, if I had my timbers with me, rest assured they'd be shivered right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Shiver me timbers. What does that even mean? Shiver me timbers?
I don't know. I feel like that's something we're going to have to look up at some point.
Okay, wait. Stand by.
Standing by. This is the hard-hitting, capture them right at the start hook that we're looking for.
For real. And it's like, I Google it and it's like, no, I don't think I will give you anything. Look at this page, Shiver Me Timbers meeting. What is that? It's completely blank and there's just a picture of someone on a horse. What the fuck?
All right, well, I guess that's a mission for our listeners, if you know where Shiver Me Timbers came from.
It's an exclamation in the form of a mock oath usually attributed to the speech of pirates in works of fiction. Oh my god, so it's like... it's making fun of them? Shiver Me Timbers. It's sarcastic. That's so funny. Oh my god. I love it. I was going to say it's a stupid saying, but since it's sarcastic, that's funny. Mm-hmm. It also has nothing to do with this episode, so... Typically old school unhinged, you know?
Yep.
Like, the last bone chilling broadcast we did was the story of the Kuchisakiona, which was really fun. I loved doing it. And it was very like structured because I had so many like cool ideas and inspirations for that. And that's also a lot of work to do and can get hard and cumbersome. And I was like, this is my fucking show. I don't feel like doing that for this episode. This time we are totally switching it up to talk about something that I had never heard of before I started searching for something new. I wanted to do something like cryptid based or some sort of creature. So I was just going through like random online lists basically of like, here's a collection of all of the monsters, all cryptids. And then I saw this and I was like, interesting. Never heard of this before. I hope that our listeners haven't either, because then it could be something new for all of us.
Sometimes I do that on my free time, just like look for like, what are some monsters I've never heard of?
Yeah.
Like, and like, is there a TV show about it? Like, for example, one show that for the last like almost 2 years, I've been like, fuck, I need to watch that so bad, is Skinwalker Ranch. And guys, Skinwalker.
Good lord.
But like,
why did Kobe all of a sudden be so alert when you said that?
He's a weird cat.
He's strange.
But I like, for example, like that's one where I was like, okay, I want to know about this. I want to know everything about it, and I want to watch the show. And unfortunately, it's not in on anything that I had access to. I think it was maybe on Discovery, but you know what? I'm gonna sail the high seas on that one and watch it illegally at some point, I'm sure.
Oh, Shiver Me Timbers.
Shiver Me Timbers.
Get it, pirating?
See, we had to tie it back.
I always do. No, I don't. That's actually a good point, though, when you're saying, like, oh, I always look for something new to watch, maybe, whatever. This thing I chose, the topic I chose, I was hopeful that there would be some kind of television show, episode, ghost hunter thing, whatever the fuck. Apparently, I had read somewhere that Ghost Adventures went to, we're going to go to Cornwall, England for this episode. To, you know, try to evoke the spirit, whatever, of this creature we're going to talk about. But I was like, I'm not like a huge Ghost Adventures, like, you know, fan. I don't know like every episode or whatever, so I couldn't find anything. Maybe towards the end, I'll remind
Ghost
people.
Adventures? Is that with Zach Baggins?
Yeah.
It is? Yeah. I don't like that dude.
No, I don't think most people do.
No, but also
he's kind of a prick.
I have been it's funny that we're doing this then, because like I have been watching this one guy on YouTube who one, I first saw him because he did like reviews of the Goosebumps books that he was like, look, I read these when I was a child and I remember watching the show. I'm a grown ass adult and I'm going to read the book again and watch the episode.
Hell yeah.
And do a whole rating on it.
That sounds fun.
And it was really neat. But then he does like the debunking, like this, like these like YouTube channels that'll have like shitty, like they'll only show like clips of like supposed ghosts that have been circling on social media or something. Okay. But then he was talking about some sort of bar that appeared on Ghost Adventures with Zach Baggins being a complete prick, and was going like piece by piece as to like why this was bullshit, and they were lying about like the entire facts of the entire case. And then he started getting into the dispute between Baggins and that other guy that left.
Oh, okay.
The like cameraman or whatever that he was like always starting to be a dick to.
Was it Aaron?
I think it might have been Aaron.
I don't really know them.
But like neither of them could let their ego go.
Oh yeah.
To just like
which
like,
is so crazy when you're talking about Ghost Adventures. Like, I think that's like inherently something you kind of have to take the piss out of. Even if you take it very seriously, it is your profession. It's what you do. I don't think it's something you can be so serious about.
No.
And don't put your ego in it. It's fucking ghosts. No one even knows if they're real or not.
And don't be a prick though, because like even if you're going in there and you're like, you know, this is not like that serious, like don't be a prick, because like for example there was that one place that just straight up wouldn't let Ghost Adventures show up because of the way they treat ghosts.
Yeah, it was we did that, I think it was episode 19 maybe. It was Haunted Places in West Virginia, and it was the Shawnee amusement park.
Yeah.
And yeah, the owners
like,
no. have never let Ghost Adventures in because they don't like how Zach Baggins talks to whatever paranormal being entity he is investigating.
Well, let me tell you, in the one that I was seeing the debunk, it was like he was going in there like calling it a bitch and shit.
Oh my goodness.
And then he got scratched or something.
Well, good. Like, would you go and talk to a grown live person that way? Probably not.
No, it's so disrespectful.
Stupid
and like the whole
ass.
Story behind it too. Like it was just like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, so anyway. Apparently there was supposed to have been a Ghost Adventures episode about this, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I think you watch Ghost Adventures on Discovery Plus, but I don't have that. So
yeah.
If anybody listening is familiar with this case as we get into it and knows that they did cover it, I would love to hear about it. Any like highlights from it. So I guess we'll just get into this.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're gonna go to Cornwall, England. We are headed to the village of Mawnan. 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 Right? The strange happenings have mainly occurred in the vicinity of the 13th century St. Mawnan Church. The church that sits there today is from the like late 1800s, early 1900s, but the foundation of the building is from the 1200s because it's 13th century. And pieces of the previous constructions of the church that have sort of stood there over like the hundreds of years have just been like added to the structure that's there today during the turn of the century revamp. So it does have little pieces that are from the 13th century.
It's funny that like the last one we did with England, I did the same thing where I had to go through like there was this monastery and it was like a huge excavation site, but the ruins are like still there. Like England doesn't touch them, doesn't fuck with them, which I'm jealous of.
Yeah, so
very cool.
That was exactly what this was. It was like this little ruins. It's very clear that there was like an ancient earthwork of some sort. They didn't disturb it. they've built within it and around it and of it, but for the most part, they do what they can to preserve. It's a beautiful little church. It's made of stone, so it's like very blocky, like square and rectangular, you know? It's not some grand Gothic castle.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you a picture.
It's not one of those like giant architectural achievements. This was a functional monastery.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Here's like one picture.
Yeah, okay. So it's exactly what you picture. Like, go walk down an old town and you'd find a church that looks just like that.
Yeah, all stone with like a big
it's not gonna
bell tower.
It's not gonna inspire like a Disney movie with with like a really sexy gypsy and a very weird dude with some internal struggles that I found out like a bunch of girls find attractive for some reason.
Wait, a bunch of guys find like Quasimodo attractive?
Not Quasimodo, the priest. Is it the priest?
The old dude?
The old dude. Apparently, I found out, like, and this isn't even like a small sect of people. This instilled a fuck ton of daddy kinks into people.
Shut up.
I'm not even kidding. When he sings Hellfire.
Oh my god.
There's a fire.
People
Hellfire.
Are like, my basement's flooded.
Yeah, apparently that was just like all of a sudden they were like, just lady in, but like with this dude, which is just wild to me.
Oh my god, that is so funny. Ew. I'm sorry, but wow.
It's up. I think that's worse than Beauty and the Beast, when Beauty was like 100% down to get with the Beast before he turned into a person. And then my favorite part is that when he did turn into a person, everyone was like, oh, go back.
Why is it also like that for Shrek?
Oh my god.
What is wrong with humans?
I don't know. I love it. We're weird. It's funny.
That is so funny. All girls are broken. Oh my god. I love you so much, my girlies. We're gonna make it. Give me that.
I won't say shit because like guys had like Lola Bunny. Like whatever.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Guys can't talk shit about whatever that dude's name is. The priest.
That makes way more sense compared to a fucking bunny.
Yep.
Oh man. All at the same time too. Cartoons in the 90s just confusing the shit out of people.
Absolutely.
So anyway, there is no handsome daddy issue man in this church.
You so bad.
I have so much to think about. Like, wow. I will be doing a deep dive into the psychology of this.
Yeah, let's get on track so that people have an episode to listen to.
This is who we are, okay?
Yeah.
This is why I do those insanely anal structures, because we have both ADHD, I think.
Yep, probably.
So this church, it's made of stone. It's very blocky, like I said. It's not some big, grand, Gothic-looking castle where hot old men live. It's got this big bell tower. The grounds around the church are filled with moss-covered gravestones. It's not a ton of land, but it's like this cozy little area. I mean, to me, it's a cozy area. I love cemeteries.
Okay, cemeteries are underrated. They're lovely, and they're like meticulously kept most of the time. And people get all weird about it because it's a place where people are buried.
Yeah, it's quiet.
It's also a celebration of life. It's like that people that like don't like people if they like jog through the cemetery. And I've always been steadfast with like celebrate living and jog through it if you want to. It's not a disrespect.
There's usually like some kind of track to walk or path. It's not like people are like doing parkour.
It's a respectful park, essentially. Yeah. Like if I die, I want people to celebrate the fact they're not dead. Yeah,
I've seen memes and it's like, oh, that's so disrespectful, because it'll be like some goth person like posing in a cemetery, and everyone else is like, yo, when I'm dead, 1000% pose near my headstone.
100%.
That bad boy costs a fortune. Get all the photos you want.
Tag me in it.
Tag my dead ass in it. So, yeah, I think graveyards are cozy. I like to hang out in them. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with that? Okay. It's quiet and no one bothered me.
Yeah.
So, obviously the gravestones are like ancient because this is an ancient church. But the Mawnan church itself is situated at the end of a dead-end road in the sleepy little village of Mawnan. It's very small. and right before the Mawnan woods. So it's like, go to the dead end, you park, you walk a bit, there's the church, and then behind the church is this little wooded area, and it separates the land from the cliffside leading into the Falmouth Bay. Falmouth, I think is how you say it. So
It's very scenic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some visitors have described the woods as being alive with energy. It has a noticeable presence to it.
Mm-hmm.
When people visit the church, some have reported hearing a strange static noise coming from the woods.
Oh, fuck.
And it gets a lot of visitors because, like I described, the woods is right on like the cliffside basically. And all along the cliffside, because in Cornwall, that's like sort of south in England towards like that west tail end of it. So it's all cliffside where there's like the bays that lead eventually into the ocean and stuff. So there's a huge trail that goes all along the cliffs. So there's like a path that will go through these woods. And a lot of the times people park at the church in order to access that trail, which has got to be gorgeous because it's a fucking cliffside in England.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time people are like, yeah, I could hear this strange static sound coming from the woods. People have even seen orbs floating around the forest line and in the churchyard itself. So it's a very active, maybe even paranormal area, which is the perfect place for a creepy cryptid.
Yes.
The Owlman.
The Owlman?
The Owlman.
Is he fighter of the day man?
Oh my god. He's literally called the Owlman because he resembles a large owl. Whoa.
Ew, that's so much. That's creepier than the moth.
It's up there. It's pretty much up there.
Yeah.
His body, minus his legs, are completely covered in brown gray feathers. Yeah, I'm just gonna call him a him, okay? Because I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Some of like the blogs and whatever that I read will say like it or he. No.
We'll set the record straight. If you ever read old books and they always say he when you don't know the gender, that was the default in the English language until recently. So we're just doing that.
Yeah, basically.
So,
so his whole body minus his legs are completely covered in these brown gray feathers. His legs are said to be very bird-like, but instead of like the usual claws that owls have, he has like these pinchers. Like, been described sort of as like blacksmith tools, you know? Those pinchers.
oh, like almost like tongs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like circular little...
Oh, okay.
So that's what his feet are described as.
Ew.
I know.
Fuck.
He has pointy ears and large red eyes, and he stands about 4 to 5 feet tall.
Sorry. I'm just picturing gay Wolverine.
What?
This is the gay brother of Wolverine.
You're so random.
Thanks.
But imagine you were like afraid of birds. And there's a
I already
5
kind of am
foot
if it's a big one.
tall, creepy, like man bird.
Oh, and up perched in the tree, you're just minding your business?
Yeah.
Ew.
Or like just hovering.
Oh, and the owls are silent in the air.
Creepy.
Oh.
Like if you're terrified of birds and this is what you saw, you'd like shit your pants.
I already want a movie about this. 100%.
So now that you have a better picture of the area that we are in and the creature that we're talking about, we will discuss some of the eyewitness sightings and experiences that people have had. So the first major sighting connected with the Owlman, like we'll say for sure, what's called like the OG sighting, was on April 17th, 1976. The Melling family was from Preston in Lancashire, which is 378 kilometers away from the Mawnan church, and that's like a 6-hour, 40-minute car ride. So that's like quite far away. And they decided that they wanted to get out of the city and head south to the countryside for the Easter weekend so that they could do some camping. And I mean, based on what I described, it would be a pretty beautiful spot to do that.
Mm-hmm.
sisters of the Melling family, so 12-year-old June and 9-year-old Vicky, were taking a break from camping in the woods, and they decided to head out on a little evening walk, which brought them out of the woods and right by the Mawnan church. As they were walking, they heard a weird sound, a strange hissing. They're looking around, they're trying to pinpoint the sound, when they look up, and they see a large humanoid figure hovering above the church tower. The creature had wings, big red eyes, and they described strange claws shaped like those two blacksmith pincers.
No.
Naturally, this scared the shit out of them, so they bolted. When the sisters got back to their campsite, they told their parents what they had seen, and being 12 and 9 years old, they described it as a monster.
Yeah.
Seeing how absolutely terrified the girls were, the family decided to cut their vacation short, and then they headed back home to Lancashire. Like,
Oh, that like ended it.
They must have been like distraught and consolable.
I'm sorry, like this does not sound like the typical white family. They would have like the dad would have 100% been like, "No, you're mistaken, honey.
Oh yeah,
like,
take
no
me
way.
to it.
Yeah, let's go see. Let's go. Let's conquer our fears." Especially the 70s, but like they were like, "Nope, fuck this. I'm out."
They're like, okay, no, thank you. Drove all the way back home, six
Yeah.
hours away.
Yeah.
So maybe feeling safe back at home, whatever the case is, 12-year-old June drew a picture of the monster that she had seen and gave it to her father, Don Melling. I'll show you the sketch that June drew. Let me see here. Okay, I only have like this one picture which has multiple sketches of what people have seen. So it's this one at the top, and this is what she drew.
Oh, it looks pissed.
And that's so scary.
I don't like the ears.
Although the feet aren't really pinchers on any of these.
Oh, no, I see it. Okay, scroll up.
Ah! What did I do?
The lines there
Oh,
show
yeah.
it. They're closed. The pinchers are closed. They
Oh,
look like
that's
crab.
why.
They almost make it look like lobster claws.
But it's really creepy. These huge, long, like very wide wingspan. A very like typical owl head with like the little pointy ears.
Mm-hmm.
The looks like a gaping mouth, which is horrifying.
Yeah.
And then some like man looking legs. Really creepy. Anyway, she's like 12 and she's probably scared shitless.
Yeah, I would be.
So she drew that picture. She gave it to her dad. And then her dad, and also like always, we will post photos on our website and on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So Dawn then gave the sketch that June drew to Tony, a man named Tony Doc Shields. So Doc was an artist, a writer, a magician. I'm not really familiar with him, but he apparently was a household name. In the 70s, he was a well-known magician. He was performing at festivals and fairs all around Cornwall. And then he also was very interested in local creatures and lore and gained media attention when he attempted to evoke the various monsters with the aid of a coven of nude witches.
I like this guy.
I know, right? It's like, all right, Doc.
It's also
pretty
easy
hot.
sell. Like, hey, ladies, you want to go like connect with nature and your primal side and just go frolic naked in a haunted forest? I'm pretty sure like most will say yeah.
So like, fuck yeah, we're gonna evoke monsters.
You want to be in a coven? Like, say no more.
I'm fucking in.
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, and my brain went, nah, you're fucking in.
Your references are out of this world today.
So yeah, this Doc guy, he's quite the character. So when he heard about the Melling sisters' experience, he was super interested in this sighting. And throughout the years, he actually recently passed away this year, but throughout the years, he had kept the story of the Owlman alive. And on at least one occasion that I could find, he had actually gone to the church and tried to call upon the, quote, evil spirit of the Owlman. This particular article was from Halloween of 1986. So that's 10 years after the Melling sisters sightings. But he's been around the Owlman lore since the beginning. So it makes sense since he was very interested in local lore, creatures, cryptids, monsters, whatever. Plus think about the UK and how many they have. Like the first one obviously is like the Loch Ness Monster that I can think of. And
Yeah.
he was always, trying to evoke the Loch Ness Monster and get a good picture of it. And
I find someone trying to evoke the Loch Ness Monster to be so funny. Like, what are you doing? Splashing in the water?
I'm not even sure. I mean, he had like his little groupies of naked witches, so it could have been anything fun.
Yeah.
So of course, like, not a lot of people took him that seriously, especially because he first got his start being like a magician and whatever. But he always said that he was like first and foremost an artist, because he did have different exhibits and stuff, and he did write a lot of books. Some were on magic, some were on different creatures and stuff like that. So he's a really interesting dude, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I had just never heard of him, but then when his name came up, I of course wanted to know who I was talking about, and kind of went down a rabbit hole, and I was like, oh shit, like this is a legit dude, like people know him.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. So yeah, Don Melling had given the sketch that June drew to him, and that really sort of pushed the story out there of this Owlman and got the Owlman out there into the public.
Yeah, that's cool.
So 2.5 months after the Melling sisters saw the Owlman, another pair of girls were camping near the church grounds, this time on July 3rd, 1976. Sally Chapman and Barbara Perry were making camp in the woods by the church. It was around 10 p.m. when they heard that creepy, unmistakable hissing sound emanating from the forest. Like anybody would, the girls went to investigate. We've seen so many horror movies, and we both want to be like, we would be like, nope.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I feel like I would be like, what's that sound? I kind of want to know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I'm already in the woods. Like, at that point.
I like go to look over, like, Dyson G here. And there's just like a little smoke shape where he've already bolted. Run into the woods to find it.
I would have to know, especially if it's just like a white noise thing.
Yeah, it's
100% in my wheelhouse.
It's a
I'd be like,
staticky.
white
noise
I need
sound.
to study this. For some reason, I'd immediately just be like,
You'd probably be like, am I sleeping right now, having sleep paralysis, and is Shadow Bay being summoned?
oh, she goes.
Because when you hear that white noise
the
sound,
white noise sound that just cranks up.
Yeah, and
until
then
it's
she's
just
there.
like, yeah. Oh. Well, she's already there when it's happening.
Oh yeah.
And it gets louder and louder.
Intensifying.
Oh, God. I miss those. I wish she came back.
That's your own brain, dude.
No, that's Shadow Bay.
Doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, Shadow Bay.
Probably Shadow Bay.
Okay, fine, Shadow Bay. I'm just like jealous of her. It's fine.
Yeah.
So in an interview conducted with Doc Shields, Sally recalled her encounter with the Owlman. Quote, "It was big like an owl with pointed ears, as big as a man. The eyes were red and glowing. At first, I thought it was someone dressed up playing a joke, trying to scare us. I laughed at it. We both did. Then it went up in the air and we both screamed. When it went up, you could see its feet were like pincers. It's true. It was horrible. A nasty owl face with big ears and big red eyes. It was covered in gray feathers. The claws on its feet were black. It just flew straight up and disappeared into the trees."
Man, I'm sorry. Now I'm wondering if this inspired Jeepers Creepers. The way you described it, just like staring at them and then launching into the air like that.
You know, I love Jeepers Creepers. I love that movie. I'm like now picturing the monster and his creepy little like spider-like head that like opens.
Mm-hmm.
And like to me, that first one is almost a perfect film. And the second one is pretty good. And then there was the third one, which was a total shart. Like that movie shit its pants and died before it was even over.
Yep. So every franchise like that, they have a gem and then they want to milk it instead of like create more like interesting
or
unique
stick with
things.
what they originally intended.
Mm-hmm.
That happens. Even with Halloween, that happened. Like the intention when Deborah Hill and fucking John Carpenter made Michael Myers and Halloween, it was to do these like anthology creepy Halloween based movies, and Michael Myers was just kind of supposed to be the first one, this escaped mental patient. But the success of it was so big that it kind of veered off of what they were going to do with this anthology style, and then they ended up making that sequel, and then they tried to do Season of the Witch, which is like what the anthology would have been with just a creepy horror inspired movie.
Mm-hmm.
but it totally was like a fart because it didn't make any sense. But it could have been so cool, but you just don't realize sometimes the success your movie will have and how it will like change trajectory.
Yeah.
Then you kind of get lost in like, do we stay true to what we intended? Do we just go with the flow of the fame now?
And if it carries on too long, it becomes a parody of itself because they think they're doing fan service, but they're actually kind of almost just creating a perverted version of the original.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I have feelings about that last one where they were like, evil dies tonight. Evil, and I was like, this is not how you do this. This is not how you do the whole like crowd like mentality thing. It was just, but anyway, I won't get into that. That's a whole other thing.
This is our movie review podcast. Let us know what you think.
We're gonna match it with some cryptid stuff, okay? So it's fitting.
Listen, sometimes you have facts you gotta blurt out, and I wanted to talk about how Halloween was supposed to be an anthology series, okay? I really like Halloween, and I actually really like Season of the Witch. It just doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, literally the next day, July 4th, Jane Goodman and her sister were on vacation in Cornwall, and they spotted the Owlman at the same location. Jane later sent a letter to the Falmouth Packet describing her encounter. Unquote. Quote. We'll start with the quote and then we'll unquote it later.
Yeah, good idea.
Quote. It was in the trees. Unquote. I'm just kidding.
Are you fucking? It's scary. Actually, that's terrifying.
Oh.
That actually is worse than what you're gonna tell me. Because if it was in the trees, is like the last thing I want. I'd be like, please elaborate more. There needs to be more.
And no one ever heard from Jane again. She's like on the radio, like, it's in the trees. And that's it. Ew, that'd be horrible. You'd be like, what, Predator? Wait, no more movies. Stop it. Stop it.
Why are the trees speaking Cantonese?
Okay. Quote. It was in the trees, standing like a full-grown man, but the legs bent backwards, like a bird's. It saw us and quickly jumped up and rose straight through the trees. My sister and I saw it very closely before it rose up. It had red, slanting eyes and a very large mouth. The feathers are silvery gray, and so are his body and legs. The feet are like big, black crab's claws. We were frightened at the time. It was so strange, like something from a horror film. Before the thing went up, there were crackling sounds in the treetops for ages. Our mother thinks we made it all up just because we read about these things, but that is not true. We really saw the Birdman, though it could have been somebody playing a trick in a very good costume and makeup. But how could it rise up like that? If we imagined it, then we both imagined it at the same time. Unquote.
Yeah, to the exact same detail. That's crazy. I hate that it has a giant mouth because that just implies that it's evolved to eat big things.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
And also when you were looking at the images, you were like, ew, it looks like weird little crab claws. And that's how the sister described it. These big crab claw feet. But like black crab claw feet.
Yeah. That's so unique too that it wouldn't just be regular talons.
I know.
That's very strange.
So creepy. But again, we have the same location at the church near the woods. We have the same description, almost identical. Like, you know, crab claw feet versus like a blacksmith pincher. But
those almost look exactly the same too, if you think about it. Like, because everyone knows like when the blacksmith takes the piece of like tungsten or something out of the furnace with that big tong and then brings it and dunks it in the water. That's what we're talking about. That's the end of that. But that's almost shaped exactly like a pincer.
yes.
In fact, I'm pretty sure by definition the end of that is a pincer.
Okay, you do say pincer?
Pincer.
Oh my god, okay, so like I thought that. Then I was like, that's crazy. It's like a pincher. But I thought it was pincer, and then I was saying pincher, but
It's pincer.
Why do I second guess myself?
No, you're right.
No, it's okay. We already established that I have
Yeah.
a very hard
reasons.
time with the English language.
Yeah.
So the thing that was like creepiest to me, like we know we have obviously the same location, the same description of this creepy old owl man, but like that creepy hissing staticky sound, I don't understand that, and it's so creepy to me.
I love that because it's almost
too.
like it's almost a different element that allows it to appear. Like it's like almost like breaking like a barrier and allowing him to come through.
It reminds me of that Unsolved Mysteries episode where they're talking about like skinwalkers and stuff like that, and how a lot of Navajo people do believe that there's kind of like a portal that is among us where creatures and cryptids and stuff do easily travel. That's why there's so few sightings of Bigfoot and how he can hide so easily, is because there is like this thin veil basically where they can hop in and out. And like that kind of reminds me of this, and like the hissing staticky sound is maybe that portal or veil, whatever you want to call it, the presence of it.
Yeah. That's
and how
definitely
it's like
the vibe I'm getting.
up. It just shoots up. And it's like, that's how everyone describes it. It just kind of goes. Like, it's not trying to fly or whatever. It's just like, boom.
Yeah. It sounds aggressive when it launches up like that.
And the big mouth, now that you said that, like, it's almost like it's evolved to eat larger things. It's so gross. So the Owlman seems to have, I don't know, maybe taken a holiday himself somewhere else, because the sightings and experiences weren't reported again for nearly 20 years. Because everyone that had seen him has been like on holiday or camping or vacation of some kind. So that's why I wrote that joke. It's so funny when you have to explain the joke. So 20 years go by and another sighting happens. And this time it's by an American tourist. She sent a letter about her experience to the then night editor of the Western Morning News, Simon Parker, at the end of the summer in 1995.
Parker?
Yeah.
Jesus, Parker, you are a freak.
Jesus, Parker, you are the night editor. So this letter read, quote, "Dear Sir, I'm a student of marine biology at the Field Museum, Chicago, on the last day of a summer vacation in England. Last Sunday evening, I had a most unique and frightening experience in the wooded area near the old church of Mawnan, Cornwall. I experienced what I can only describe as a vision from hell. The time was 15 minutes after 9, more or less, and I was walking along a narrow track through the trees. I was halted in my tracks when about 30 meters ahead I saw a monstrous birdman thing. It was the size of a man with a ghastly face, a wide mouth, glowing eyes, and pointed ears. It had huge clawed wings and was covered in feathers of silver gray color. The thing had long bird legs, which terminated in large black claws. It saw me and rose, floating towards me. I just screamed, then turned and ran for my life. The whole experience was totally irrational and dreamlike. Friends tell me that there is a tradition of a phantom owlman in that district. Now I know why. I have seen the phantom myself. Please don't publish my real name and address. This could adversely affect my career. Now I have to rethink my worldview entirely. Yours very sincerely, Scared Eyewitness."
It came right at her.
That's so gross. With the wide mouth. Why?
Yeah. Everyone's clocking the exact same description too.
Exactly. Very consistent sightings. And you know what else is interesting? Is that it's all women. Sisters. Another group of sisters. 2 female tourists.
The bird loves the birds.
For real. Hungry.
Why is it always it's always crouching and minding its own business, like doing something, and gets interrupted too.
What are you doing?
And it's like, oh.
But this one floated towards her instead of shooting up into the air, which is extra creepy.
Yeah, that's the unique part. Also, marine biologist. Like, not just like some schmuck. Yeah. Like someone that's like dedicated more along the lines of science.
Exactly. She's like, I have to go rethink my entire worldview. Because if you're a scientist, of course, you're going to deal in facts. And if you can see it and you touch it, it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You need to be able to recreate it for it to be evidence.
I stole that from the mummy.
God damn it.
Well, you don't believe in this? No, I don't. I believe if I can see it and I can touch it, then it's real. That's what I believe.
Jesus Christ.
That was a good accent. I got too excited. Great. This is a really confusing episode for me because apparently the people get like all daddy kinked out over the weird guy in the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now I have to think about Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser and what's her face make a lot more sense. The daddy kink from the weird priest dude who's like mean and like puritanical. Like it's just
Yeah, it's horrible.
so funny though.
I love it. Such a complicated species.
Yep.
The Owlman was quiet for another 14 years.
Yeah.
It was reported that in September of 2009, a 12-year-old girl named Jessica saw the Owlman. I have no more on that.
No notes.
No notes, but another 12-year-old and a girl.
Yeah. That's weird. It's only appearing to girls.
Yes.
Women.
Girls and women. Well,
Yeah.
she's 12.
Yeah.
I don't think a 12-year-old is a woman.
No. I'm just saying and women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Girls and women is acceptable. When you start calling us females, then we have a red flag.
Yeah, that's just
I hate that shit.
yeah, you listen to certain podcasts, don't you, bud?
Female. Ew. Gross, buddy.
Incel vibes.
For real. So in between all of the sightings of the Owlman, there are tons of reports of people hearing very creepy sounds, seeing lights and orbs that could be related to the Owlman. That could be this creepy forested area. It could be a lot of things. It is a fucking ancient church. For example, in 2003, two teenage girls were listening to music in the church car park. Wow, that's a British thing. A car park.
I'm assuming that's just like the parking lot.
It's the parking lot.
Yeah.
They're listening to music late at night in the parking lot, and they saw a glowing, pulsating orb hovering over the church. And the girls said that they watched it for a while until it just vanished.
Huh.
So, in between these sightings of the Owlman, very active area otherwise for these orbs, creepy sounds.
Yeah, it's so cool that it's got like I'm still infatuated by the hissing like white noise sound
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's just sick and I just want to know more about that.
I know.
And like I guess the enticing part is like how could you possibly know more about that? Like it's fucking paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
But then like you've got like more conventional side of like orbs and like which usually indicate like spirits or something like that.
Mhm.
Around the church. So that's really cool.
I agree.
It's kind of like a whole hotspot they got going on here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally a hotspot. Some sort of just like conductive area.
Do you like horror movies?
Do you like hanging out with your friends?
Do you like having a laugh?
Do you like podcasts?
Well, you should check out our podcast, Spoils of Horror.
We're not a review show.
We're a horror movie hangout where we talk about movies that are lost, forgotten, popular, and bizarre, all in the scary realm.
You can listen to our podcast while you're doing just about anything.
You could be washing your dishes.
You could be washing your cat.
You could be washing your genitals. All forms of genitals accepted.
We are a fully inclusive genitalia show.
Yes, we are the #1 ideal podcast for washing your genitals.
Our genital Yelp reviews are unsurpassed.
5.5 stars.
You don't want to know where that half came from. It's,
Now that you know that, check us out on all major platforms.
you can search for Spoils of Horror on all social media sites.
Come and hang out with us. We'd love to see you.
And your genitals.
Bye.
Now, it's hard to really pin down where the Owlman comes from, like if he has any sort of specific origin or origin story. Like, all we really have is theories and basically conspiracies. Before I get into those, do you have any thoughts? Any conspiracies or theories of your own?
Oh man, how can you possibly have a theory about a flying birdman? You know, I'm actually kind of a bit at a loss for this, other than the fact that like I do recognize that both the forest and the church would be, especially the bell tower, would be exactly locations that you would have owls. Like barn owls would obviously nest up there,
Yes.
and well, I mean, barn owls would pretty much just only be in the bell tower, really.
Yep,
but
and
yeah.
that's what people say. He lives in there.
Oh, that's
He
sick.
lives in the bell tower. That's like what's believed.
Oh, that's crazy.
Plus, I think there's like a door. Nobody quote me on this. I mean, we're talking about fucking Owlman, but don't quote me.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there is a door that leads to the bell tower, and randomly, no matter how often it gets, refinished, painted, cleaned, there's still always weird like scratches and stuff, and handprints and all kinds of weird things that appear on it, which is really creepy.
Oh, that is fucked up. And also, like, I'm pretty confident there would be a door.
I just don't know if it's the door to the bell tower or if it is a different door.
Yeah, like
this definitely happens. I just don't know which door.
Sometimes they have that like weird like wooded slotted thing that you usually see in the top. So maybe even that. But yeah, I see what you mean, and that's eerie.
It really is. So we'll just start there then for the first theory about what the Owlman is, who the Owlman is. It's that, of course, he's just an owl. It's a large owl.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, prime location for where an owl would live. So specifically, people say it's a great gray owl, which at its tallest can be almost 3 feet. So it's not the 4 to 5 feet, but a 3-foot bird is still horrifying.
Yeah, and it'd be so hard to judge too, because you have distance in the air like that. You don't have, like, if you look up at something in the sky, you don't have a reference for like how tall it would be.
And it can be disorienting because the wingspan of the great gray owl is 5 feet.
Yeah.
So it can be a little disorienting.
Mm-hmm.
But 5 feet is crazy. That's almost as tall as me.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Because I'm not.
No, almost as tall. Well, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, almost as tall.
If I laid down,
Yep.
it would be almost as long as me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like 5'5".
Yeah.
It doesn't sound. Nope. It does not have pointed ears, and it doesn't have red eyes. They seem to typically be yellow. It's very rare to see a great gray owl, even though they could be in this area of England. They are all over the northern hemisphere. They're in Quebec, they're in Alaska, the Pacific coast, Finland, they're even in northern Asia. So they don't really have a specific native area, but they are like really hard to spot, which is so crazy because it's this huge ass bird, but they're like pretty elusive.
They also don't have hooked wings.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That was only one sighting, and again, it's nighttime, but yeah, I did not see anything about the hooked wings.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I already kind of like go, I don't know about that, because I mean, several people have seen this and not the great, what was it? Great owl?
A great gray owl.
Great gray owl. Like, you'd think in between these sightings, there'd be like, hey, I saw a great gray owl. I saw a very large owl.
Yeah.
Like, in between, but everyone's coming back with like, it had a human body.
Yeah, and you wouldn't, if you were in the area, you'd be like, oh yeah, we have a fucking 3-foot owl nesting in our bell tower, so it's probably what you saw.
I mean, like, even like, for example, like we're near Hamilton, they had peregrine falcons, which are like kind of endangered. I don't know if they're still endangered, but we protect them. That ended up nesting on McMaster campus, like on one of the buildings.
Cool.
Man, we got like a live stream to that. We're publicizing that shit. Like, people can watch it on the internet whenever they want. I don't know if it's still doing it. It was like 10 years ago, but like, I feel like if you had that,
people would know.
Yeah, people would know.
Plus, it's like everyone's seeing red eyes. These typically have very bright yellow. Red and yellow, not often confused with each other. Adult great gray owls have a very like rhythmic, deep hoo that they make. But when interacting with humans in any way, whether humans were going to feed them or startled them, the sound can become really high pitched, and the baby owls make a shrieking or hissing sound. So interesting. Another owl that it maybe could be is the local Eurasian eagle owl. And it's literally that. It's a species of eagle owl. It's one of the largest owl species, and it can be 2.5 feet tall with a wingspan of 6 feet.
Okay.
They have distinctive ear tufts that look like pointed ears. They have big dark orange eyes, which could easily be mistaken for red eyes, because I wrote that they have red eyes. Then I went and looked more at the picture and for descriptions, and they're actually deep orange.
Okay.
But they really do look red.
Yeah.
They are native to this area of England, and they love varied woodland edge that is near wetlands or open areas like farm fields, which totally surround the church. And we know it's right on the cliffside near the bay.
Yeah, which is like the definition of open area.
Yes. Now, they aren't very vocal. They typically save any sort of vocalization for when they are territorial or when they're singing with their partner, which is so cute.
Yeah. Well, I'll add to that. Like, if we're gonna put on our like skeptic hat, because you know it's fun to also like be like into it and dive in. But like if we're gonna do like the skeptic hat too, like I would say like if I had to guess for a rational explanation for the hissing, I would say that you have a very odd like acoustic setup for the area where you have flat open land initially for sound to carry.
Yep.
And then you have a forest followed by a cliffside with water.
Yes.
So the sloshing of the water against the shore, the beating of the water against the shore, and then carried through the trees can like diffuse it and make it carry throughout the entirety of the flat land that you've got by the graveyard.
Yeah.
And you've got like an interesting little setup there where you could hear that, but to even, you know, to dispel that or argue against it, you would hear that all the time. Like you would hear that nonstop.
Yeah. It wouldn't just be like a random coming and going and changing
like,
pitches and stuff.
So either that like acoustically is like, you know, hitting all the right notes and carrying, or it's not. You know, so like you would know it wouldn't just suddenly be like, and like even if it was like, oh, that only happens at like high tide, like people would know that happens at high tide then.
Yeah, well, all of these people are tourists though, or camping.
That's true.
They could be like, well, the fuck is a high tide?
Yeah, that's true. They may not even know that there's water back there.
And the Owlman's always seen at night, and owls are nocturnal predators, which could explain why all of these sightings take place at night. And I mean, it is like the most practical explanation. It's just like not that fun, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are coming at this with like I'm gonna like prove everything right. No, yeah, I don't know. When I look at that, I'm sorry.
showing him a picture of the eagle owl.
Yeah, sorry, showing the picture. I would not in a million years be like, that looks like a man. Like, I'm sorry. It looks like a regular large owl.
And then that's the great gray owl. It's so fucking cute.
Okay. That's terrifying.
It's cute.
It's one of those owls, kind of like the barn owl, where it's got the round head.
Yeah, it doesn't have pointed feathery ears.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Staring
Are you
into your
kidding
soul.
me? I think owls are adorable. You think they're creepy?
A little bit. They can be definitely creepy.
I mean, they're horrifying. I don't want one near me, but I think that one is so fucking cute. Floof.
It's very fluffy.
You just look at that and you go floof. Plus, it's so funny because like their body is actually pretty small. They just have these giant wings that take up all of their body, and then this huge floof.
Yeah, there is an owl that'll adjust it so they'll look all puffy, but then if they're threatened, they can I don't even know, they can almost imitate a hawk, and their like fluffiness goes away.
Wow.
Yeah, and they like turn like almost like a side profile, and they look skinny.
That's amazing.
It is very neat.
Birds
I don't remember which one that
are
was.
so amazing and so horrific.
Yeah. Oh, fishes.
Like what?
They're vicious.
Oh, I thought you said like fishes.
Like fishes.
I was like, what? Oh, like fishes. So amazing and so horrific, like fishes.
They're not wrong.
I'd be like, who's this kid? Why is he saying fishes?
Yeah, I don't know. You showed me the pictures of the birds, and I'd be hard pressed to be like, oh my god, that looks like a person.
Yeah.
Like really hard. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, most practical explanation, of course, that's what everybody says. Well, this is prime territory for owls. You saw one. Oh my god. And that's probably what they said exactly. You can quote me. Another theory is that the Owlman is actually a victim of mistaken identity. As many of us know, avian humanoid hybrids are common cryptids in folklore all over the world. The Thunderbird,
Oh yeah.
the Jersey Devil,
Oh yeah.
and of course the Mothman,
Yep.
which Paige covered in episode 32. Still one of my favorite episodes.
Mhm.
She smashed that one out of the park. So, if you haven't listened to that, it's episode 32. Go listen. It's Mothman.
Mm-hmm.
Mothman is definitely the most similar to the description of Owlman. You have the red eyes, the feathered appearance, the wings. The height, I guess. I think Mothman was described as anywhere from like 6 to 8 feet. Like Mothman's huge.
Yeah, Mothman's very big.
Also, you're right. Girls are freaks because some people are like, oh, Mothman. Yeah, Daddy Mothman.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. So,
Hey, you know what? I don't care. You can be into that. It's fine.
So, yes, now I can steal your little Wolverine joke because it's like Owlman's the weird little Wolverine to Mothman, and it makes sense in this context.
Yep.
So as we know, the Mothman, or if as we know because we've covered Mothman before, really hope everyone's listened to that episode because it is so good. But the Mothman travels all over the world, so that could account for the gaps in sightings of the Owlman, because you have he wasn't seen for 20 years, 14 years, whatever. Maybe he was seen, it wasn't reported, whatever the case, there does seem to be these gaps. But the Mothman seems to have an agenda, at least.
Yeah.
He's there to warn typically of impending tragedies.
Yeah, he's like a harbinger of doom.
Yes.
Or something that should be, that is coming.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he's gonna warn you of something you can change, but I don't think he warns you that you can change it.
No, he's kind of
Which
just
is
hi,
yeah.
doom and gloom. Bye.
Yeah.
Remember I ordered that tote from
Oh my God.
from Temu, I think, and it had all these cryptids on it, but it said Monthman.
He misspelled a bunch of them.
It said it was 2. There was Monthman and what the hell was the other one?
Wendigo was wrong.
It was Wendigo.
Wendigo, that was it. Wendigo and Monthman.
And all the other ones are spelled right, but I was just so blinded by anger that they fucked it up that I sent it back because I wanted my money, but I really wish I kept it.
Yeah.
Because Monthman
so funny.
and Wendigo.
It's better. Yeah. If someone returned that to me, I'd be like, I'm keeping it then.
I was just like, I want my money back. That's stupid. But yeah, I wish now that I had kept it. The Monthman. That was, man. We're making up for how sort of lackluster a lot of this episode has been with our craziness.
Yeah. Also, I find it really interesting. I wouldn't shit on this episode because I think this is an introductory episode to something most people probably haven't heard. Most people probably have not heard about.
I hope so, because I'd never fucking heard of Owlman. Are you kidding?
No.
I was like, what? The Owlman? I'm going down that rabbit hole. Oh, this rabbit hole isn't as deep as I thought. Oh, well. I'm here now. That was really me. So the Owlman, he does not really appear to, do that, have an agenda, and be like, there's a tragedy at hand. Get ready, bye. He doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
He legitimately appears to be in Cornwall on vacation, like most of the people that have spotted him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he gets so startled easily. He's like, whoa, guys, I'm off the clock. God, get out of
as
here.
if his real job is to be seen.
Or maybe he's not on vacation, Maybe he's just attracted to the area.
I think he's attracted to the area.
The site of the modern church was already sacred since it is built within the confines of an ancient earthwork, which was still in excellent state of preservation when the churchyard was enlarged in 1920, like we said. England, really serious about all of their history, and they do what they can to preserve it.
Yeah.
I
was just going to say, as they should be, because they've got a really long, rich history. You may not like all of it, because a lot of it's not great, but It's very like vast. Like if we think about like Canada, ours is a couple hundred years,
Yeah, really only.
and like England's is like hundreds of years. It's
Yes.
centuries,
Yes.
which is just, I don't know, very Canadian response, but like that's mind-boggling to me.
It is.
Yeah, but it's neat.
I agree. I love learning about it. She said enthusiastically. I actually do. We all
Yeah.
know this. I literally will like take any chance I can to be like, here's a history lesson.
Yeah.
Like right now. Some say this ancient earthwork, and therefore the church, sit on a ley line. Do you know what a ley line is?
No.
So I'll just do like very brief history. Ley lines are ancient straight paths or routes in the landscape which are believed to have spiritual significance. So the phrase ley line was coined in 1921 by the amateur archaeologist Alfred Watkins because he noticed numerous places of geographical and historical interest were aligned in a sort of pattern. So ley lines wrap all around the world, essentially creating these energy grids where the lines intersect, called terminal points. Important and significant sites sit, such as, quote, beacons, holy sacred wells, ruins, mounds, and churches.
Oh, fuck you for shitting on this episode. That's very interesting. I did not know that, and I'm now gonna go down a rabbit hole.
Oh, you can. There's a big rabbit hole for that.
Oh my god! Next time you see me, you're gonna like see me in front of like a corkboard with like strings of yarn and a world map.
Legitimately, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
So Watkins never personally himself attributed any supernatural or spiritual significance to ley lines. He believed that they were simply pathways that had been used for trade or ceremonial purposes. So they're just very ancient in origin. And they possibly date back to the Neolithic period, which is the final division of the Stone Age.
Mm-hmm.
But many people believe that they are spiritual or they're conductive with supernatural energy because major landmarks sit on ley lines like Stonehenge and the pyramids of Giza,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, for so long were believed to have been built with supernatural powers or supernatural beings, you know, because they were so advanced for seemingly the time.
Mm-hmm.
So people would be like,
I mean, it makes sense. Like, it sounds like these were like roads, like major roads leading like to different areas, like to different other major areas.
yeah.
So, I mean, I could definitely see like just having these roads and then having these significant things pop up
Mm-hmm.
like over time as a natural occurrence, like something that I would almost expect to occur,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't. So it doesn't like negate the fact that you can also have these like spiritual things tied to these.
Yeah, just because
objects
they
if
have
you-
such a heavy
Yeah.
origin and they have been so, you know, occupied
Mhm.
and heavily traveled. And I don't remember exactly how it's worded, but when Alfred Watkins had coined the term, I think he was like horseback riding or something, and then he had this like strange like spiritual experience where he felt very like connected to ancestors and a lot of past lives while he was on this one pathway.
Mhm.
And it kind of like awakened this idea that it was a very ancient area that he was in. Like, obviously it's ancient, it's the fucking earth,
Yeah.
but the specific place that he was on like had
Yeah.
this vibe of like, whoa, this is well traveled, this is a very important route. Then he went and looked at maps and kind of started to connect these patterns of seeing the way these, you know, invisible lines basically were all connected.
Mm-hmm. I like empathize with that feeling. Like I get the same kind of feeling like if I go to like historical like locations, like when we went to Ottawa,
Yeah.
and we went into like Parliament, like my mind half the time was thinking about who walked through these doors
Mm-hmm.
that I'm about to walk through, and then you get all kind of like excited about it because you could like, you know, some of them, right? Like, you know, the like for me, I would like know like there's several like prime ministers that walk through these doors,
Mhm.
and I get to walk through it at the same time, like following that same footstep.
Yeah.
And so you get that feeling. But there's definitely times where I've been like out fishing or something, and I'll go through like a woods to get through there, and I'd be like I wonder what like
Yeah.
like you kind of get that feeling where you're like, I'm not the first person to walk through this, and I'm also like, I wouldn't even be the first person to walk through this in like before modern day stuff. Like, who else walked through here?
Yeah.
Type feeling. So I get that. That's a very strange feeling, but it's so like captivating at the same time.
It actually reminds me of years ago, I had gone to Casa Loma in Toronto, which is this gorgeous old castle. And at the time, I felt really bad after I had left because I felt like I ruined it because I couldn't stop crying. I was in Casa Loma and going through these certain like bedrooms and stuff that are all preserved like they would have been like 100 years ago, and walking through like this big dining area and stuff. Like I literally was just crying. I just felt overwhelmed like with the presence of the place and everything. And afterwards I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I feel like I ruined this. But I was just really, really emotional and overcome. Like it's like how people talk about being in a haunted place, which Casa Loma is supposed to be one of the most haunted places in Canada. But being in haunted places, for example, people talk about feeling those residual energies, which is why it feels haunted, is because you kind of have like these constant imprints of life.
Yeah.
And you can't get rid of energy.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of energy. And
I was gonna say like, yeah, because like those like constant imprints of life, I think what, you know, whether you call it energy or not, I think is a very real thing.
it is.
And
Yeah.
so like to that, it's completely understandable. I mean, like you go through like some location and you've got like remembrances of or indications of like someone who had lived here long ago. How do you not feel a bit of like a twinge at your heart?
Yes.
Right? So
Exactly. Especially if you are more of a sensitive person or an empathic person, then I think it is more, you are like the prime sort of person to have those experiences. So,
and then you walk through a forest and you just like crouch down, you grab some of the dirt, you taste it on your finger, like Monthman was here.
Monthman, tastes like a Wendigo.
Wendigo.
Wendigo. That's, I guess, how you get away with saying Wendigo.
Wendigo.
And what is this? Monthman.
So funny.
God, I'm kicking myself. You
Yeah.
stupid bitch. Why did you get rid of that bag? Monthman. So, yes, this potentially supernaturally charged area with its ley lines and ancient earthworks could attract creatures like the Owlman, which is why people have seen him here. It could also explain the other spooky stuff, like the orbs and the static sounds. Like it's the energy manifesting, or the whatever you want to call it. I like to call it energy, because energy never dies. It doesn't go anywhere. It just is. So it can like have multiple lives, in my opinion. Makes sense in my head. The static hissing sound sort of seems to be associated directly with the Owlman. So I don't really know where to go with that. And I'm with you. Like that to me is like the most intriguing piece. Like, what is this staticky hissing sound? But like it seems to be with Owlman and not necessarily the area, because there will be no sightings of Owlman for whatever period, but people will still see orbs and lights and random things. But the static hissing sound is only with him, and it's so creepy.
And it's my favorite part, and I'm just so into the idea of paranormal blended with like unexplained sound. Like to me, like if like I mean, like for example, one of the episodes we did was like one where I just wrote up like a scary script, like
Yes.
broadcast type
Episode
deal.
60, the broadcast.
Yeah, where the entire principle was like a broadcast that would occur in a small town, and like something was strange about it. It was like paranormal, unreal, and connected to like an almost otherworldly plane, right? And so I mean, that shit, chef's kiss. Fucking love it. I would like study that as much as I possibly can, because I think that's the coolest part. But then I think like, you know, like ghost appearances and stuff are also cool. But for some reason, I'm just super into like, if it makes sound, I want to know more about why the fuck that's making a sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why that sound.
Yeah.
So interesting. Another popular suggestion is that the Owlman is nothing more than a hoax. He's a man, dressed up, ready to scare or prank people.
That's the least believable to me. Like, I could understand someone being like, mistaken bird sighting or something like that, but to be like, yeah, someone made this incredibly elaborate hoax that not only did they think up this idea of a human owl hybrid in the 70s.
Yeah.
They also like came up with the idea to blast this weird like noise coming from the forest.
Yeah.
And then also somehow managed to tether this dude so they can launch like way up into the air
And disappear.
It's
such a good point. People say, like, well, it must have been a prankster because the first two eyewitness accounts from that 1976 report were, you know, the Melling sisters, but it was brought to like widespread attention by Doc.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he's this local magician character type. He apparently was also a notorious prankster.
Mm-hmm.
And people were certain that he'd made up both stories just for like his own personal agenda because he was so into the monster evoking exploits and his nude witches and all of that. So people were like, well, it's obviously a prank, but you know, that doesn't really explain the other sightings and experiences like as far as 20-30 years later. So
look, I think if there's a hero in this story that we can trust, it's the guy who created a naked coven of witches to frolic in the forest.
In the 70s, when people were like prime hippies, hell yeah.
Oh, for
I
sure.
would have been like, let's go. Back to my roots.
Oh, look. A dandelion.
She was a fairy.
Must be the last one of the... Yeah, she was a fairy.
What? Do that again.
Which one?
A dandelion.
Oh, look. A dandelion. Must be the last one of the season.
The way you're trying to have a lisp while smiling.
I have buck teeth. Okay, so I don't even know what that was going to sound like when I started.
Oh my god, that was adorable. Yeah, it doesn't explain the other sightings and how, you know, they were experienced up to 20 to 30 years after these ones that were brought forward by Doc Shields.
Mm-hmm.
Shields. It's Shields, not Shields.
Mm-hmm.
But since it did turn into this like local legend and people were hearing about the Owlman more and more, especially newcomers and vacationers, it's probably like the first thing you do as a local. You'd be like, oh, be careful. I was trying to do an accent.
Oh, be careful.
What the fuck? I can do an English accent all the time when I'm just being a tool, but now I put pressure on myself and I can't do it.
Be careful, darling. No, that's just... Yeah, I can't do it.
Be careful going out and... What the fuck was that? Okay, it doesn't... We're not going to do that.
No, we're just going to...
So anyway, locals would definitely be like, oh, be careful out there in the woods with the Owlman. You know, he looks around the church and whatever. It's probably like, you know, fun to scare them. And then they're here, vacationers from wherever the fuck, other parts of England, America, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
They could have just maybe wanted in on the action. So they're like, I'm going to write to the paper and tell them, I've seen the Owlman. I've seen him.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Good, not great. Now, the counterpoint to that theory is that to the theory that it's a hoax, rather, is that strange occurrences involving a mysterious creature in the area didn't originate with Doc Shields. 50 years before the supposed first encounter at the church, two boys were attacked by a, quote, very peculiar, very large, and very aggressive feathered thing. The Cornish Echo newspaper reported the attack took place on June 4th, 1926, between Mount Hawk and Porthtowan, which is approximately...
Porthtowan? Porthtowan?
No, I'm probably fucking that up. It's about 17 miles northwest of the church.
Okay.
In Mawnan. So these boys were running down the road while they were being attacked by what appeared to be a huge, ferocious bird. They were screaming so loudly that people ran outside to see what the fuck the commotion was about. The group of onlookers intervened, so the terrified boys managed to escape and hide behind a large steel grating. And then the crowd proceeded to kill the creature. However, once they had done so, no one could identify what it was or if it was even a bird. It was just this big, weird, fucking feathered bird thing.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, this is upsetting.
And like, that's that. No one knows what it was. No one is willing to say it was a bird or an owl. It was just a creature thing that attacked these boys 50 years before that first sighting by the Melling sisters.
Interesting that the first like attack though was boys.
Yep.
Yep.
And it wasn't at the Mawnan church or the woods around it. It was 17 miles away. But I mean, if you're a bird, you could fly 17 miles in like
you gotta
a second.
give this thing some radius.
Yes. It's not tethered to the bell tower.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is definitely interesting. So that is like the counterpoint to it being a hoax started by Doc Shields, is that there was apparently this article from 50 years before that talked about this weird bird thing.
Yeah, in the 1920s.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's important too, because like usually you can look at a story and be like, the only guy saying shit is this one dude.
Yeah, it started all here with
it's
this
like, no.
sketch by supposedly a girl, and then Doc brings it forward, but then it's like, oh yeah? What about this? Before we wrap it all up, the last thing I'll mention is that even before that unexplained experience in 1926 with the boys getting attacked by a creepy, weird, ferocious bird thing, a creepy Owlman has been documented right here in Ontario, Canada.
Really?
Yes.
We got a little owl bucko?
Yes.
All right.
An encounter with an Owlman was found in a 1798 Canadian settler's diary. Interestingly, the creature was seen in a churchyard. The tale in this diary tells of a man who had the ability to transform into a man-sized owl.
Sorry, the way you worded it sounds so lame.
Those like animorphs.
That was so interesting and cool, but then you're like, I have the power to turn into a man-sized owl.
That's what the diary said.
I know, it's their fault.
It's not my fault. I didn't write this diary. I'm not that old.
That's so cool, though.
13 years later, in 1811, several newspapers reported on various accounts from locals who saw a, quote, kind of winged man with tiny features, save for the large humanist eyes.
Ew.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
In total, there were more than 100 encounters, and they all described a small, thin man, either with wings coming from his back or replacing his arms, with small facial features minus the huge glowing eyes, who frequented graveyards and forests and was mainly seen after nightfall. And that was, I don't know where in Ontario, but it was here.
That's so cool, because I mean, like, I'm not going to say I know this for sure. I do know there is an Ontario tribe or Cree, or not Cree. I think it's Huron that do have in their lore, excuse me, that's not the right word, but in their stories about a demigod, I think, that's half bird, half man. And he's a trickster. And
yeah,
I think he's part raven or something. But yeah. So
that makes sense.
Because initially when I was hearing that, I was like, wait, 17 whatever. I'm like, I wonder what indigenous people have said about this, because usually you can almost like set your clock to it. Like you find like something about like settlers mentioning something odd, and like the indigenous groups, people is there at the time, like already having a full explanation of what it is.
Yeah. I think I know what one you're talking about. Is it a raven, or is it like a nightingale or a nightjar or something like that?
It's a nightjaw.
But yeah, I know what one you're talking about. So that is that's the creepy tale of the Owlman, who is maybe a bird, or he's maybe a hoax, or he's maybe actually Monthman, and it's a good tale nonetheless. You know,
It is. It's really cool.
Got hopefully a new cryptid in your ears.
Yep.
Learned very briefly about ley lines and ancient earthworks, and you know, it's a fucking Owlman.
Yeah, and what the fuck's up with that hissing sound? I don't know, but I like it. I'm gonna probably go down a deep rabbit hole about like paranormal, like auditory.
You'll get like
occurrences.
The hum. You got like the Windsor hum.
The Windsor hum.
The is it Cuban? There's a Cuba hum or something.
That one turned out to be
Warfare, basically.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. But the Windsor hum is, said to be because of the factories all along the lake. But there's another one. It's called like the Tunson hum or something like that. And that one's unexplained.
Yeah.
But it's like not everyone hears them.
Man, I've got so much like extensive, like high-end, like audio processing software. Like I should look at some of these just out of interest at some point.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, because I have things where it can like isolate sounds instead of like, so if, for example, you can have like an entire crowded room of people talking and I can isolate one.
Yeah.
Right? So it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, that's really cool.
On your rabbit hole down ley lines, you can see if there's any that cross around here and then try to go to an ancient ley line and record. The thing with ley lines, though, is that, they're not like set in stone. It's not like you can find one map that's like, here is the standard, Merriam-Webster version of a ley line.
And it's not a pinpoint either.
Yeah, because technically you can draw ley lines to whatever your objective is. So if you were, in this case, Alfred Watkins, who was interested in ancient architecture, church, mounds, whatever, you can easily draw lines between those if that's your intention. Of course, there's people who get crazy with it. And I've seen some online where people are trying to say, of course, in America, you silly Americans, that all of the state capitals are on ley lines. But if you aren't, aware that you can yourself draw ley lines and connect them, then it sounds creepy, but it depends on what your objective is and what you're trying to draw. So there's like, a lot of wiggle room. They're still very interesting, especially if we're going off of the way that Alfred Watkins coined them, and that it was not so much about anything creepy and weird and paranormal. It's just the ancient routes.
Yeah, and also, like I said, if it's highly traveled, someone's going to build a city on it.
Yes.
It's kind of like saying, why are all the major cities like corresponding
rivers
to the train route?
Right? That's crazy, man. Do you ever notice that all the trains pass right by the train station? What's that about, man?
Really makes you think.
You ever wonder why dams are built like near waterfalls? What's that? Why the fuck are old towns always right by the river? This is wild.
I'll be milling that one over for a while.
Yeah, you mull it. Yeah. Listeners, hello? You still here? Okay, great. Let us know which creepy topics you want to hear about in our next bone-chilling broadcast. I like to do these. It's fun, and we can do cryptids, haunted places, urban legends, literally anything weird and creepy. I'll dive down that rabbit hole and deliver it to you. Plus, then it brings Dyson and I out of our shell a bit. It gets a little bit crazy and unhinged and ADHD and month manny and Quasimodo in here. But not Quasi, the other guy.
Yeah.
You can reach out by email or Instagram, which are linked in the show notes. All that stuff. Other fun stuff's linked in the show notes too, like our Patreon, where 3 bonus episodes are currently available. Those are deep dives. I think every one of our bonus episode is like over 2 hours long.
Yeah, they were lengthy. In fact, it also corresponds with around the same time that our interface broke.
Yeah, we had a lot of technical difficulties.
Not that I think that's related, but maybe.
Because I broke it with all of my talking.
I think I broke it in travel more than anything.
I haven't done this in a while. If you're listening, can you please rate us 5 stars? Because it really helps us grow. And somebody rated us 1 star because I made fun of like fucking Winnipeg or something stupid. And they were really butthurt about that. And so we don't have 5 stars anymore, but like I still really appreciate it if you would just give us 5 stars, okay?
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the dark side.
Bye.